Welcome to Brands Decoded podcast, where we speak with some of the best founders crafting the next generation of brands. I'm Rahul from Times Internet, where we back consumer internet companies.
I'm Zoeb from Sauce VC that backs early stage consumer brands. We came together to build the Brands Decoded community where members eat, drink, sleep, and craft brands. Our guest today is Pritesh Asher, co-founder of Juicy Chemistry. Their journey started in their small kitchen in Coimbatore in India. And from there, the brand has grown to countries including the US, UK, Australia, and many more. Pleasure to have you with us today, Pritesh.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me here today.
So Pritesh, why don't we start off by learning more about the genesis of the brand name and what it sort of means?
That's one question that we get a lot. So I'm always happy to answer that question. It's a very interesting story behind the name Juicy Chemistry. Obviously, we started with a 10 by 10 kitchen in our makeshift kitchen with just two of us, Mega and myself, doing a lot of research on if it's possible to actually make organic or basically just cosmetics and skincare products which are free from any sort of chemically processed ingredients or even chemically processed agro ingredients for that matter. One of the experiments that we were doing was manufacturing cold processed soaps in our makeshift kitchen. And somehow I was doing a lot of research and I found that we could actually infuse really fresh fruits and vegetable juices in our manufacturing processes as well to leave the water out so you can add more functional ingredients in the skincare product for it to give more benefits on application. The idea really interested me. Interesting enough for me to go and try a batch of the product. And we decided to use a little bit of a citric fruit, which was in season and available locally, to see if that water can be replaced in that product. Interestingly enough, halfway through the batch, things were going well until I started adding this fresh cold pressed juice into the product. A few seconds later into the product starts to behave a little differently, a little weirdly than I expected it to behave. Eventually, making a big goop out of the product. And, you would imagine the soap to be, really orangey and, smelling great with all these wonderful, oils that we had used in the product. But eventually the product, which was in the pot, looked like a big brown mess. And, Vega walks in and is like, what is happening? And why is this looking like this? So I looked at her and said, we tried to make the fresh cold processed soap. This is the result of it. I think the product didn't work the way we thought it would. The chemistry of it looks completely different. So Mega looks at it and she says, that's some chemistry that's happening because that's not what we expected to happen. And I looked at her and I said, no, it's just not just chemistry. It's because of the juices that we put in. It's juicy chemistry that's happening. So that was that moment, but it didn't strike us that that is going to be the name of the brand. But we just kept coming back to that some way or the other. Whenever we had a fail batch, and we would reference it to the point that let's hope it doesn't become a juicy chemistry like it happened with the soap batch. And then it sort of kept growing on us because there was chemistry between us when we were in the floor on the floor just making products, or when we were researching. We were doing a lot of chemistry related stuff. It was just between us. It was the product and the usage. So it always gelled. That name gelled, and it always came back to the name Juicy Chemistry. And one fine day when we had to make a Facebook page, we didn't have a brand name. We wasted a lot of time, and I was like, Mega, this is not going anywhere. I'm just going to name this Juicy Chemistry, and that's it. We stuck to it then.
Wow, that sounds fun actually.
Yeah, on the floor it was really crazy to see that kind of process happening right in front of us, and that just stuck with us. And whenever we went into markets and we had a stall. People would come to our brand because they were intrigued by what it is, because it didn't give them a clear picture of what this brand was all about. Mm-hmm. So it created a lot of inquisitiveness in the consumers, and that sort of helped us a lot in the initial phase.
Yeah, and to be honest, Juicy Chemistry sounds like a rom-com movie, and yeah, but
Yeah,
it sounds fun. So you and Bega literally started this out of a kitchen, and
true.
I just want to understand that you definitely have a manufacturing background, uh, and today, while you're not in that 10 by 10 room anymore, which you were many years back, what core functions do both of you handle today?
The functions just we played out as we took on different roles in juicy chemistry. Like you rightly said, we are not in that 10 by 10 kitchen anymore. 2018 we were able to move to a larger manufacturing unit, and of course it's grown more since 2018 as well. But me and Megan, we go back about 20 years, and we understand each other's strengths and weaknesses very clearly. We are like a jigsaw puzzle that fit very well. So she has core expertise in her subject. She does research. She comes from a criminologist, criminal justice background for her bachelor's degree, and she's done masters in journalism as well. She knows the nuances of social media. She knows journalism, research backed, multitasking like there is no tomorrow. And if somebody comes and tells me, you need to do this while I'm doing something else, I said, come back later after half an hour, let me finish this what I'm doing. Otherwise I'll never get to the number two job. But Mega does a lot of multitasking around here, juicy chemistry. So it spanned out in such a way that Mega handles operations, day-to-day operations of the manufacturing facility, human resource management. She does PR really well. She does social media really well. Research is a real big forte for her. So she handles those parts of the businesses. I am more into manufacturing, like you rightly said. My background is more in manufacturing. I love to create. You'll always find me on the juicy chemistry production floor. Doing new formulations. Testing out things. Quality checks. Raw material sourcing. Overall management of the company. That's something that is my understanding. So we have our clear job roles laid out. I think that worked really well for us.
It's interesting that you spoke about your manufacturing background and the manufacturing facilities. And as per my research, it's the facility has grown 4 times in size since 2017. So, my question is in two parts. Firstly, what was your vision in trying to build such a facility? Because something like contract manufacturing is a very common path many consumer brand companies follow. And secondly, did you have a differentiated vision for what you wanted to build as a facility?
Yes, Zoeb. So when we started out, that was not the vision, to be very honest. Because we were just cramped for space because we were growing very quickly, and then that's when we decided that we need a bigger facility for sure. But then the larger picture behind that was we wanted to create a facility because there was nobody else that we could outsource our manufacturing to. Now, not to forget that Risk Chemistry is still India's first and only certified organic skincare brand with over 100 products and certification. At that point in time, there was nobody in India that was, really doing organic manufacturing. And let alone outsource it. People didn't understand what organic, like a certified organic product actually meant. A certified organic product needs to go through almost literally over 200 checkpoints at any given stage, right from sourcing, supply chain to manufacturing, post manufacturing, storage of those goods, labeling, communication, transparency, sustainability. There are so many aspects that an organic brand need to bring along to the table for it to be called organic. So for us, it was very important that we built this manufacturing facility with the credentials that we wanted our products to carry, which was EcoCert certified organic. Now, EcoCert, because there was no other certifying body that was available in India, EcoCert also just started off with one customer, that was us predominantly. So it was very important for us to build a backward integrated manufacturing facility, which would fall in place with the guidelines laid by our organic certification body. So this is why we, took the plunge and said, listen, we are not going to be able to manufacture this with anybody else unless and until we create the facility ourselves. Our organic credentials will go out of the window. So that was the motivation for us to, create the facility to make that capital expenditure ourselves. And this really benefited us in a lot of other ways as well that we can touch upon on different questions. But that was the idea when we invested in making our facility the way it is today.
Super cool, Pritesh. I just wanted to understand one, majority of Indian customers, don't really know EcoCert, right? I mean, there are different certifications, right? Today, when we pick a coffee, it has some certification. Today,
Yes.
when we pick a soap bar, it has some certification. So different certifications coming there, right?
Yeah.
But the larger challenge is that today almost everyone claims to be either all natural or all
Yes.
organic, right? How do you literally build that trust?
Rahul, it's there's no one like direct answer to that. I mean, it's small things that the brand does that really have an impact on the consumer's minds. Like for example, like you rightly said, there's hardly any differentiations in the word natural, organic, pure, herbal, Ayurvedic as well. Because the reason we started Juicy Chemistry was this, that like literally there was no differentiation between the brands. When we looked at the labels at the back, it was literally such that pretty much the formulations remain the same 95% of the times. And functional ingredients, colors, fragrances could vary. But the product in its essence, the way it was manufactured, looked exactly the same for so many different brands, but in different packaging and branding. Right? So that was something that we wanted to, that we couldn't digest the fact that, a product claiming itself to be natural or Ayurvedic could have, these traces of, not traces, I would say the origins of a chemical based compound, artificial flavors, artificial colors, fragrances, preservatives. I could go on and on. But we started off natural, and that's when we kept getting asked this question: how are you different from another brand? Right? Because we didn't have any certifications in place, we didn't have any third party assessing our work. It was self claims. Like I would claim myself to be natural and organic. How are we different from the other brands that were already doing that? And that was very important for us to communicate to the consumer. Now, trust building was something that obviously Rome's not built overnight. It's something that you have to work towards. I think we did a lot of small things right as far as building trust was concerned. Juicy Chemistry was built on three T's, I would say: trust, traceability, and transparency. I think we did that extremely well in our early stages of the brand. We created a clear traceability to every single ingredient that we were sourcing. The ingredient that was coming into the Juicy Chemistry lab had a clear trace back to the soil from where that ingredient was purchased, who was the farmer, how much of the lot was traded organically, how it came to our manufacturing facility, what we did with that product, how we packaged it, the labeling information that we were giving. We were probably one of the first brands in India to mention each and every single ingredient that was going into our manufacturing of that product. So the label clearly mentioned how much of organic substance was there inside the product, in the finished product, what was in it to get that percentage at the back of the label. So we created a lot of educational content for the consumer, for them to really understand what we were doing, how we were doing it, and what was the benefit for the consumer because we were doing what we were doing. I think that was very important, earlier on in our journey that we managed to establish with the consumer. And today, if you see, the journey has completely changed. You're right when you say the mass of the target segment is still not aware of the certification processes, how we are different from one another, because still a lot of brands call themselves organic without having any certifications in place. But that trend has clearly changed quite drastically, I would say. People today know about certifications. People associate certifications with trust. People, our customers have that trust factor because we are certified and not making self claims.
Absolutely. I'm just curious to understand where do you stand with these differing philosophies? And why is it that you chose to go with nature as opposed to science?
Yeah, if I may take that question a little differently.
Okay.
I understand that the consumer is completely overwhelmed with the kind of information that is available to them. There are different kinds of brand offering different product variations in the market. One, like you rightly said, is coming from nature, or less toxin. One is coming from an Ayurvedic background. One is coming from more clinical, quote unquote, research based skincare offering to the consumer. What is it? What is different with organic? The question is very rightly targeted as well, because the consumer needs to understand why organic, why K beauty, why clinical acids. What should I use when? How do I use it? What should be my AM PM routine? So these are all very typical questions that a consumer faces today when they are making a purchase decision as far as their skincare is concerned. Now, see, our take was very, very, very clear, right? Where do these acids come from? Right? Where does the hyaluronic acid come from? I mean, you extract it from a plant, you extract it from a particular fruit, you extract it from a particular berry. It could be different ways of getting a particular active ingredient out. What we are telling you is, when we are giving you an active substance, an active plant material, why would I extract it through a chemical process to then add it at 2%, 1%, maybe at 7, 8, 10%, depending on what the product formulation is? Why don't I give you a product which is 100% active, right? Juicy chemistry products are actually 100% water free. We don't use any water in our formulations whatsoever, thereby keeping the preservative out of the picture. Thereby, we don't use any fillers, we don't use any stabilizers, we don't use any emulsifying agents. When we say that there is AHA in my product, right? So what do we do as a brand? We look at what is that one ingredient which has AHA, for that example. There could be many different examples that I give you. I can leave it for another day, but I'm just giving you an example of AHA, right? So sugarcane has phenomenal amount of AHAs. It's a great exfoliant to the skin. It has wonderful amounts of nutrients that get passed on to the skin on application. It's a very micro-sized AHA, so it helps really penetrate the skin and gives the desired results that it's looking to give. What we've done differently with Juicy Chemistry is try to keep our organic credentials in place, but give you different products within that regime that you can follow at different usage levels. For example, there will be some vitamins and minerals which will be water soluble. There will be some which will be oil soluble. We keep water soluble nutrients or vitamins in water soluble phase, water phase regime, which is basically a cleansing or a face wash regime. Right. So, for example, we'll have a soap or a cleanser which is going to be with an AHA for that matter, but we wouldn't be able to add it in an oil phase because of our organic and limitations within the organic manufacturing credentials. But what we would do is split the phase and give you a water phase ingredient with a facial cleanser or a soap, and then we'll give you a water-based toning mist, which is coming from purely floral waters. Rose water, aloe vera water, lavender water have wonderful nutrients within them that can help for at the toning phase. And then we have something, so you've got two water phases, and then we seal it with an oil phase, which is going to lock in the moisture and not let the moisture content escape from the skin's layer very easily. So that works as an occlulant. So we've actually given you all the nutrients and all the necessary regime that was required to do not in one phase, but in 3 different phases. 2 water phases and 1 oil phase in the morning. The same thing with in the nighttime regime as well. So keeping our organic credentials in place, we've actually just tapped the most potent ingredients from the nature's lab and put it in our formulations in different phases so that you still get to enjoy products and get the benefits out of them without having to look at a chemical alternative. If you ask me a direct question, how does the product work? I mean, yes, it's organic, it's great, right? I mean, it's just one part of the story. What about the efficacy factor? Because the consumer is coming to pay to the brand because they want efficacy from the product. You're organic, that's great, that's a buying choice. You're cruelty-free, that's great. Vegan, that's something that I can relate to as well, and that will impact my purchase decision. But my core question remains, will this product work for me or not, right? So that is something that we've looked to address with all our products. Our ingredient is the hero. It has got the kind of nutrients, the kind of essential fatty acid matter, the kind of delicate enzymes that are required, and the enzymes that are alive in the product at the time of use, right? So when you use the product, if the nutrients are not there, it's like cooking it's like basic cooking, right? If you boil the vegetable too long, the nutrients go away in water and you're actually draining them out rather than putting them in your body. So it's the manufacturing process. It starts from the source, how the raw material is actually sourced, and then how we manufacture it by ensuring that all the nutrients are alive in the product, and how we transfer it to the consumer at the time of use. That ensures that every single product in Juicy Chemistry's range is actually active at the time of use, and almost every single product has gone through a clinical study to ensure that they are actively helping the skin trouble or the skin concern or the hair concern that the consumer has come to us in the first place for. Now, is there one way to do it? Would you say that Ayurvedic works better than allopathic medicines, or does it work better than homeopathic medicines? They all have a different way of working on your skin, and it's not right to say that one works better than the other. But my question to you, to the consumers, is if you are able to get the same amount of efficacy using an organic product, is there a necessity to look elsewhere? Right. So that is our proposition.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Very interesting. So, Pritesh, who takes care of this entire R&D? Is it you, or is there another team, or you work with a lot of people, remotely? How does this work?
Honestly, Rahul, we don't have an R&D team. The R&D team consists of myself and Megha completely. We don't outsource any of our production related processes to any third party agency, because honestly, again, we've not found the right kind of organic credentials with anybody to sort of help us in our manufacturing processes. But what we do is we are very thorough on our research. We've done this for the last 8 years now into the making, and we really understood different physical and chemical properties of different ingredients that we source from around the world, and how they need to be because there are some restrictions as far as organic is concerned. Even though that you can use some sort of actives in your production processes, which might be EcoCert certified, which might be certified by other different agencies. But for us, our philosophy is very clear. If you can leave out any chemically processed agro ingredient and don't use any sort of lab-derived actives in our products, and use the ingredients in natural and organic phytoactives to ensure that the skin biome is benefiting from it. And that is our credential, that is our boundary, and we don't cross that boundary at any stage. So for us, research and development happen across mine and Megha's table. We deep dive into every single problem that that consumer is facing, and try to address it in the most organic way possible. And I think we've been fairly successful in creating a product line. When we have everything in our product range, right from concerns with acne, for hair fall, products for pigmentation concerns, and we've managed to do that with, like I said, 4 different variants where they can use it in their skincare regime. So we've addressed it in a very granular way. Research and development is something that we are very passionate about when we're creating skin and hair care products. So we will still hold it very close to our hearts even going forward.
So, Pritesh, what I want to know is that given that your R&D is completely done in-house, so what is your process for generating other co-driving forces for the company? That is, of course, if you can share that with us. What's that process like at the company?
Zoeb, we've stayed connected to our consumers at a very grassroots level right from the inception of the company, and we still continue to do so today as well. I think if you ask me how many of the products were inspired by interactions with the consumers, I would say 100% of the products were inspired by our interactions with our consumers very early on in our journey at Juicy Chemistry, and we continue to handle customer queries at a very very personal level even today. Just talking to the consumers, you get a lot of insight. That is your market research, if you ask me. Because when we started off Juicy Chemistry, we started with about 6 or 7 products in our line. We had a hair oil, we had a body butter, we had a couple of soaps. But when we stood behind the counter, when we were doing small trade shows, customers would come for the first time. They would buy the products, and they would see us again in the same trade show, and they would say, "Listen, I loved that product that you gave us last time. But listen, can you also give me a hair oil, because I'm using a a face scrub from your range and I really like it, but I'm looking to go organic. Could you get me a soap, or could you get me a hair conditioner, or could you get me a face mask or a face serum, because I'm looking to change my skincare regime to go completely natural and organic. So this is the consumer insights. Or people will come to us and say, listen, I have oily acne prone skin type. What products do you have from our range? So it gave us a lot of insight to understand the problems that the consumers were facing, and do our research based on the gaps that were there in the market. Clearly, when we started off Juicy Chemistry, when we looked around, we didn't find one product that would fit this bill, which would call itself 100% chemical free, but would also have efficacy attached to it. So we understood that the consumer was looking for something like this, and through our early interactions with the consumer, we were able to create products to fill those gaps very efficiently. I think that gave us a lot of customer insight. One, and today, obviously, we have an extended team now that helps us, understand, the consumer journeys better. We still continue to, monitor every single, customer query to understand, if there are any gaps we've identified. Like, for example, we get one query a lot from our consumers is, can you add hair color to your range? Could you add a conditioner in your range? So, there are some limitations to what we can do and what we can't do. So unless and until, we are able to address that particular problem first, we go out and, make sure that, we get the best ingredients from around the world to ensure that the consumer gets nothing but the best.
Got it. Very interesting. So, I have one really interesting question. I've noticed, you're one of the very, very rare companies which is building from Coimbatore itself. Okay. I have actually two questions on that. One, how do you find talent,
Yeah.
And second question is, how challenging was it to raise capital? Because most startups, at least this is, please correct me if I'm wrong, right? But majority of brands we see are either in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, typically, right?
Yeah.
What kind of responses you used to get, right, when you said, like, hey, I'm building a completely organic beauty brand sitting out of Coimbatore? Very curious to hear.
I answer the first question first, Rahul. What was it to find talent? I especially have a very different theory on talent. It's very different from what others believe. But in my personal life, I've always followed one thing is that attitude is more important than aptitude. For me, it's very important when even in our recruitment, or if there's any teams that we are working with, it's extremely important for us to see the attitude of the person rather than looking at what credentials he brings on the table. I think that's something that really helped us in the initial phases of Juicy Chemistry. The first employee for Juicy Chemistry was our house help, which was with us who was with us for the last 20 odd years. And she started looking at what we were doing. She immediately she said, listen, I'll help out. I'll start packaging couriers like this. I'll start labeling the products like this. Every day morning, the Storm used to hate waves to clean vessels, clean the floors, make sure there is enough space for couriers to go out. And then we had a very, very tough time with Juicy Chemistry. With my previous company's exit, which was into petrochemicals as well. But I had laid off my laborers, and I told them that I'll come back to you once I'm in a better place. But I had put them on two different manufacturing units, and once Juicy Chemistry's journey started growing and we required more people, we immediately gave them a call, and they said, listen, now we want you guys back. If you're able to come and join us, that will be great. Because we understood their work culture, we understood how hardworking they were, and their ability to learn, right? Because again, coming back to the point that I had no reference, it wouldn't matter if I was in Delhi or Bombay or Bangalore. I wouldn't find the talent to make organic skincare products, because that concept never existed in India in the first place. It's something that had to be first learned and then passed on to the immediate internal team. So to say that finding talent was difficult, yes, it was extremely impossible for us to find talent. It had to be inculcated within the team, and everybody had to start thinking organic, right? It's not a compliance that we are doing because we need a certification. It's the brand ethos. right? You have to imbibe organic. You have to think at a grassroots level very differently than what other brands do or other processes are, for that matter. So it was very important for us to build the right kind of team from the start. And I think focusing on attitude and rather than aptitude really helped us find that talent and groom that talent basically. And secondly, yes, you are completely right when you say that we hardly hear any brands from a city like Coimbatore raise funds. But the honest truth is, when we started Juicy Chemistry, we were not looking to raise funds, Rahul. Like I said, my first failure was a professional failure stint was with my petrochemical manufacturing company. It took us a long time to sort of come out of the kind of problems that we were facing in that industry generally overall as well, and as a firm, both at personal and professional levels as well. But when we started Juicy Chemistry, I wasn't thinking about how am I going to raise funds, or how am I going to leverage capital when we go forward. It was not the idea at all. For us, it was important to build a good organization which believed in itself and had proof of concept firstly. I always believe that no matter where you are, if you're able to do the right things, talent will sort of join hands, and you will attract the right kind of people if your vibes are if you're throwing out the right kind of vibes. And I think that's what we did, even with our fundraise as well, Rahul. To be very honest with you, we were not actively in the market looking for fundraise. We knew that we had to take on now because this is our next journey. But it really wouldn't matter because we are sitting in Coimbatore and we are importing goods from literally 20 different countries, and we're making the ingredients make their way into our manufacturing facility, right? So today, the world is a very small place. Doesn't matter really where you are, as long as you're doing the right things and you're giving out the right vibes, you will attract the right kind of people to join and take you to the next growth phase of your journey as well. I strongly believe in that, and I think Juicy Chemistry is one such example of that.
Super cool, very interesting. And when you say next journey, right? I mean, what is that next journey? Is you're looking to go global, right? Craft a globally accepted organic brand. Is that what the mission is, or what is it?
Absolutely, Rahul. I think Juicy Chemistry has started opening up to the idea that it could be a brand, a globally recognized organic personal and skincare brand. We are already present in Australia. We are in Singapore. We are in South Africa, Nepal. We are in France. We're looking at different European countries. So we've already started, initial seed work for us to expand in different countries. Not to forget that organic as a concept has been widely accepted in the West about a decade and a half, or close to 2 decades ago, I would say, and more so in the last decade. It strongly made its presence felt across Europe, across US, more so developed countries like Switzerland, Singapore, Australia, where the concept of organic is already known to the consumers, right? So almost a sort of a plug and play market for a brand like Juicy Chemistry with its credentials. And already there is a huge wave of consumers looking for really clean, truly green, sustainable products in the market. And I think we fit the bill right there. And we've done a lot of groundwork in that sense to ensure that we are compliant in these different countries, in EU, in the US with the FDA regulations, in Singapore and Australia with stricter quarantine restrictions around products. We've really worked around a lot of formulations specific to those countries as well. And I think we're on the right track. Although only about 7% of our revenue comes from exports. I see this going up to about 20 to 25% in the next few years.
So while we're doing some additional research, we found out, and before I ask this question, if you're not comfortable with us keeping this in the podcast, we can always edit it out. We found out that almost 80% of your sales come from your website. That is, it's from your direct to consumer channel, and that is a fairly difficult task to achieve. So just want to understand how you managed to crack such a number, and how do you manage to sustain it for so long?
Uh, Very interesting, actually, Zoe. We always wanted to, control as much of the consumer journey as possible, and not to forget that Juicy Chemistry's products are, sensorily different, olfactorily different. They have a different storage mechanism. Sometimes, products do melt in transit because we don't use stabilizers. Because our shampoos have no sulfates whatsoever, not even green sulfates that a lot of brands use, like cocoa glucoside, etc. For us, because the ethos remain that everything that we need for a healthy and beautiful skin is available from nature's lab, and there is and we don't look at lab grown ingredients for performance or efficacy. This was very important statement that we told the consumer, and we didn't want them to be surprised when they saw a product which reached them in a particular way. Very few of the SKUs that do that because they don't have any stabilizers. We wanted to control the last mile journey of the consumer. We wanted them to understand that we were there ready to answer every single question. In a brand, in a space where everybody was selling cosmetic and skincare and personal care products with different ingredients. Juicy Chemistry was a brand that came into the market and started asking the right questions first up. Right, so we wanted the consumers to ask us as many questions as possible, because they should know that how this product is completely different than what they would expect of a commercial shelf. So that was our cue to start focusing more on the journeys that the consumer was taking on our website, looking at it as a supermarket checkout. The more information that we could give about our product to the consumer, we realized that the consumer was less surprised when they got the product, right? And why doesn't the shampoo lather the way it should? Like other shampoos lather, why does your shampoo lather so much? Why is hard water a problem when you're using your shampoo and not with other shampoo? Why is it that your body butters melt and others don't? So it was very important to get that consumer to understand the product in the first place, and we could do that very well on our platform and through our question and answers, through our WhatsApp interactions, through our emailers, through our social media. It could be in so many different ways, but we were able to explain to the consumer before they bought the product that, hey, listen, when you're buying this product, this is what you can expect for this, and this is the usage of the product. You can use it like this. This is a morning routine. This is a night routine. And the consumers always preferred that we were upfront with them. We were made them understand how to use the product, and that's when they saw results as well. So consciously what we did was ensure that whichever platform they were coming in from, we focused our energies on getting them to our platform where they could understand a lot more about the product journey. And even the last mile support was controllable by us. Whereas when they were going on to larger third party platforms, they often had to wait about 2 days, 3 days, sometimes even a couple of weeks together to actually get a resolution to some problem that they have faced. For example, I got my product and it leaked out, and now nobody is responding back. And now we are helpless because they didn't shop on our platform, and there is an entire journey that we also have to take behind the scenes to ensure that we are able to help the consumer in a certain way. So we wanted to avoid all those third party layers that we were putting in from between us and the consumer, and control a lot more of that journey. So it was a very conscious decision we took about 3 or 4 years back to ensure that as many people were coming were able to understand the entire product proposition first before they bought the product. And that's the reason why we have such a strong cohort rate as far as Juicy Chemistry's repeat customer rate is concerned.
Very interesting. Pritesh, just going back, one question that I've been thinking about. Your site mentions about soil to shelf, right? So, is it true that you actually get the ingredients directly from farmers?
Yes, absolutely, Rahul. Absolutely. What we've essentially done is, disrupt a 150-year-old, beauty and personal care supply chain by, cutting out the middlemen completely. Now, one of the reasons why we had to go directly to the farmer is because, we didn't want, like I keep going back to the point that, we don't use chemically processed agro ingredients as well. We had to go directly to the farms to, get the kind of materials that we were looking to work with for our formulations. Like in India, like I said, there was absolutely nobody who was doing organic skincare back then, and even apart from a few hair colors and a few products which have EcoCert certified ingredients, but not the formula being certified, it was extremely difficult for us to get hold of the formulations that we were looking to work with. Our international shows that we did very earlier on, I wouldn't say very early on to the right the middle section of our growth journey. We did a lot of international shows where we met a lot of direct suppliers and we established fantastic supply chain relationships with them, working with the farmers directly, thereby giving us the kind of credentials that we required for the product to get certified organic. Like for example, I'll take any ingredient for that matter, right? I mean, today in India, you're able to get certified organic food grade products because that has become and luckily for us, because every single product that we use is a food grade product. So now we are able to get a lot more of the ingredients, but that was not the case in 2017-18. People were just understanding what organic certifications are all about. Food was, really propelling in terms of organic. Like, we were able to get organic flowers, herbs, but we were not able to get, certain important ingredients like shea butter. Like, for example, not many people in India actually stock shea butter as a raw material, organic shea butter as a raw material, because organic credentials need you to be having a very strict quality control right from the ground. When you look at certifications, it's not just a certification which tells you the product is organic. It actually takes a very holistic approach. It's almost like having a management certification in place, which allows you to focus, very hyper focus on traceability and the operations that you're doing as well. Especially for a brand like Juicy Chemistry, it was important to have that certification because it encompasses so many different aspects of your manufacturing process. And just by doing that, you're compliant with so many management level certifications like ISO 9001 2015. You're compliant with ISO 14000. You're compliant with so many other international requirements for your management level certification processes as well. So looking at organic certification purely from the soil level, growing and then taking the supply and using it in your production facilities is not what certification is all about. Actually, it takes a very holistic approach towards sourcing, supply chain, manufacturing. It tells you do's, don'ts, sustainability in terms of packaging, labeling, transparency. So it encompasses a lot more than just certification. And we're right when we say that we go to the soil, because here in India, compliance is looked at as a very tedious process. But when we wanted some ingredients in the West, compliance is a part of their manufacturing or their farming processes. For example, we go to Bulgaria to buy our rose water, because here in India we find rose water, but the quality and the source of the origin of the rose water itself is a big question mark for us. We don't know what are the processes that they're doing. There is no clear traceability to the soil. Are they using fertilizers? Are they using insecticides? Are they using pesticides, fungicides, any sort of ingredients that will make its way into the DNA of the plant? Thereby, if my raw material is not from an organic source, how is my product going to be organic? Right. So for us, it was very important to go to the source, work with the farmers, and only 20% of our 20 to 25% of our raw materials is sourced internationally. Almost 75% of raw materials we source are sourced from India. For example, we go to the source because that's where the ingredient grows to its maximum nutrient value. I can't expect a tea tree oil to grow the same way it grows in Australia, or an olive to grow the same way it grows in Spain, or Greece to grow in India. Because of its nutritive value that is there, and its altitude, geographical location, wind, water, all those things, make a plant or make a ingredient what it is in that particular locality, right? So that's why we go to the source to get the best ingredient, and that's when we use it in our manufacturing processes. We are able to pass on those nutrients to the consumers. So by cutting out the middlemen, what we've essentially done is verify the quality of the ingredients that we are getting. So the lesser the hands change, the more clear traceability that we have back to the soil, ensuring that every single ingredient that makes way into Juicy Chemistry's lab or manufacturing house is actually from organic sources, and it is clearly traceable back to the soil. we're actually not soil to shelf, we're actually soil to soil as well. Every single product you use from Juicy Chemistry's range of skin and personal care products, when it's drained back into the soil as well, what you're draining back is also organic. So we are actually zero waste in every sense of it.
That's really great to hear. And just the thought that uh, there's so much time, effort, and thinking going into each ingredient. Literally making sure it's from the right space with the right climatic conditions, etc. Is truly remarkable.
Absolutely, Zoe. Zoe, that's exactly what we do. Every particular ingredient has its own genetic
Story,
makeup,
as you
right?
mentioned.
It has genetic makeup. It has a specific benefit on application to the skin. Now, rosehip, for example, we go to South Africa, a very remote country in South Africa, Lesotho, which is the best suited for growth of rosehips. The nutrient value that we get, and our products go through a lot of testing, post and pre manufacturing stage as well, and we've not seen the kind of nutrient profile that particular region is able to give is not being able to match by any other supplier in the world, right? So for us, it's that nutritive value that is more important, and that's why when the consumer uses our products, are able to see the results on application, right? So that is one of the biggest reasons why Juicy Chemistry has the repeat customer rate that it does, is because we are able to impart efficacy on application, right? The consumer is coming back because they are able to see results, and the results are purely just from ensuring the right kind of sourcing and the right kind of manufacturing techniques to ensure these nutrients are alive on application.
So, I want to ask you a question about one of your social media posts. And it's not a usual question, one would ask the founder about a social media post in specific, but it really did catch my eye. So yeah, Mega was on the post, and it said that here's what people said when we were starting out. That one, you probably guys don't have the relevant experience. Second, that there already are enough natural brands. Thirdly, how will you guys be organic? Fourth point was how will this scale? Fifth point was how you're going to maintain shelf life. And the last question was, are you guys sure about this? So, would love to know that after all these questions you asked, where did the conviction come from to really build this out?
To be very honest, when we started off, we were not, we didn't envision the brand to span out the way it did. Of course, it's great to be in a place that we are today. But honestly, it was very clear to us through our research, through our understanding of the ingredients, by working with the formulations, and doing rigorous amount of work to understand the physical and chemical properties of the ingredients, and the pure sheer amount of hours we put in terms of formulating the products. Literally, we must have tried. We go through about 60 to 70 different formulations. Sometimes we go to about 100 odd formulations before we get one product right. So it was a lot of conviction, because we started off with 5,000 rupees in our pocket when we started off the brand. It was purely on the basis of what consumers were telling us, that we were able to, because we were small, we were able to pivot very quickly and understand from our mistakes, understand from the kind of formulations that we were doing, what was working, what was not working. Organic products seem to play up sometimes. How do we cut out that inconsistency in products? We did a lot of work. We put in, for the first 2-3 years, I think we put in about 18-hour, 20-hour days almost every single day. Research at night, products manufacturing in the morning, dispatches in the afternoon, accounts in the evening. So we've sort of encompassed the entire journey by ourselves, where we've played multiple roles at multiple levels in our early days of operations. So it was very clear to us that these products we are onto something, because the kind of love we got from the consumers end was phenomenal, and we've kept the brand very true to its core, and we've never, even today, after 6 years of operations, we've not shifted from our core product offering. I think that conviction came in much later. I think when we started looking at it as a brand in 2017, I think is that's when we started looking at it as a brand. Before that, it was something that was we kept getting more passionate about it. But in 2017, we started thinking as a brand, and that's when it sort of sunk into us that, hey, listen, we need to think like a brand now that we have now a range of products. We need to instill confidence and trust in people because and we very quickly learned that no amount of marketing dollars you spend in this category, skin and personal care category, is going to win you the consumer the second time around. You are applying the product on the most expensive real estate that is out there, is your face and hair. No matter how much of convincing you do, if the product experience is not good the first time around, you've lost the consumer for that, right? So we didn't right up till 2019, I would say early 20, we didn't spend too much money on our social media or our brand building exercise at all. It was purely through word of mouth marketing and peer-to-peer reviews where we were able to get most of our traction from. We didn't care about 4 or 5 star reviews back then. For us, if it was a 1 or 2 star review, that's where we jumped our gun, and that really bothered us, and it continues to bother us today as well. Because with skincare, not one thing is right or wrong. I was mentioning earlier as well that there is different ways of achieving skin and personal care, optimal level of skin and personal care satisfaction. It's fluidic for everybody. And there are different ways of doing it, right? Nutrition can be gotten to the skin in multiple ways. Which is the right way? There is no right way. What works for you, you do what works for you. And that's a little bit of discoverability that is attached to it as well. What we got from the consumer, that was very, very positive impact on both our psyches. That hey, listen, we are really onto something over here. Because if you are at a 99 out of 100, most of the times you've got the product right, you've got the consumer backing the brand, you've got consumers talking about it, they become the torchbearers for the brand, and that happened more often than not. So that was our core strength, our interaction and our support from and love from the consumers that we continue to receive over the years.
Crazy. That's amazing to learn. Pritesh, I have a last question for you. What got you to start offline stores while you're doing such super work online? Do you think you're gonna go a long way taking the offline route as well?
Rahul, I think when we had our first standalone juicy chemistry store in Coimbatore, we were extremely elated because people had never seen something like this in the city. Of course, I think we were one of the only standalone stores, organic skin and personal care standalone stores in the country that back then. But I have two thoughts around this. One is that even today, a lot of business happens offline. Of course, I'm not talking about the pandemic period here because we are obviously restricted for movement. But today, we are not as evolved as China or the US is as far as online is concerned. They are probably their penetration is a little is far more better than what we are in India today. We still are a little traditional in that sense, and I see that offline bouncing back. Even today, our Indian consumer wants to go to the store, talk to the beauty expert behind the counter, understand if that product is going to work for them or not. Sensory olfactory, association is very important for the consumer. That's the same with your makeup and other cosmetics as well. But I see that in our business plan before we took on funding, we wanted to get to a lot of offline stores, predominantly in metros and tier 1 cities where we've mapped the consumer really well. And I don't see that changing in the future, because obviously things are going to go back to normal. Things will pick up, retail will bounce back. And I think a segment like ours, which is more sensory and olfactory sort of touch and feel, is as very important even today. I think I would strongly, I would not write off offline in the near future for sure, given the fact that it's not going to go all down south from now. I mean, and it won't because things are improving slowly and steadily. And I think retail will definitely bounce back. And I think Juicy Chemistry has a very strong affinity towards going offline. But at this point in time, we are doubling down on our online efforts because that's that. And we've always built a digital first brand. We wanted to open experience stores for consumers. This would, this has worked for us even in the past as well, where both Mega and I would stand behind the counters, take the consumer one consumer at a time, and explain to them what our product offering is all about. I know it's not a very scalable option given in today's times, but that's exactly what we are doing with online as well, where me and Mega show up a lot to answer questions, to take queries from the consumers, answer one-on-one, do a lot of lives, do a lot of knowledge transfer to the consumers. And I think it happens very well offline as well when the consumer is able to, look at you, one-on-one and understand from the brand why this product is going to be working for me, rather than just go offline. Because offline and online traditionally have also worked really well together. I think that will continue to happen so once we are in a better time.
Absolutely, very very interesting. I think this was amazing. I didn't realize we spoke for over an hour. So, do you have any more questions?
No, thanks, Pritesh. I've one very simple observation, which is that in this space there are D2C brands and then there are true D2C brands, and definitely Juicy Chemistry is in the latter. No doubt about that. All the way from the way it's manufactured to the way it gets to the consumer. I think it truly embodies that philosophy. And thank you so much. I've learned so much, and I'm sure so did our listeners.
Thank you so much, Rahul and Zoe, for having me on the podcast today. It was an absolute pleasure.
Dear listeners, if you liked the episode, please do share it with others, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and share any feedback with us on Twitter. Our handle is KCAP_IN. See you next week with a new episode.